Well, hello, friends. Welcome one and welcome all. I can't offer much in this outdoor hall, but sit here and rest. You must be weary, and I'll share with you Tales of Tyria. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this week on Tales of Tyria, we've got feedback, story time, Q&A, and some news about an upcoming Halloween event. Stay tuned. It's going to be a good time. You're not going to want to miss it. Yes, welcome one, welcome all, welcome to another exciting episode of Tales of Tyria, the premier Guild Wars 2 podcast right here on the Sound Strategy Network. You can find us on YouTube at Sound Strategy Network, the username you can find us. That's the channel. I am Bridger. I'll be your host for today. Hopefully you will enjoy this one. We've got, I know last week we said we wanted to do a warrior show. Unfortunately, I was very tied up at work this week, and I did not get enough time in on the warrior to really feel confident talking about it. So next week, we are definitely doing our warrior show. And having said that, I should also point out that next week's show is going to be a little bit later than normal, so we're going to have it at Monday, October 29th at the usual time instead of Sunday, because again, I'm working on Sunday this week. October is just a really busy week from the job that I'm in, so apologize for the inconsistency, but I'm trying to keep it either on Sunday or Monday and try to avoid going on any other days for you. Hopefully this will be the last time we have to switch it for quite a while. So Monday, October 29th at 7 is next week's show. All right, before we go any further, let me introduce my co-hosts. Freelancer joining us again this week. Welcome, sir.
Hey, how's it going, Bridger?
Not bad, not bad. Good to see you again. We missed you last week. Did you have anything you wanted to impart as far as the story episodes, sans spoilers, of course?
Not really. I actually tried to avoid that because I haven't finished the game yet. So.
Oh, fair enough. Okay.
I'm in that boat. I'm like level 75 something personal story. I just haven't gotten to it with World v World. So.
Excellent. Yep. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, I slowed down a lot when I got to that point, too. So it's like more Risen, really. All right, I'm tired of the undead dragon. Vega, what about you? Have you beat the undead dragon yet?
I haven't. I don't even know what level I'm up to in the story, but I didn't watch the show because I didn't want to get spoiled. But I still have a ways to go until I'm done with it.
Well, we are going to avoid spoilers on this week's show, so fear not, anybody who's coming to this one. Don't worry about that. People in the chat are asking what happened to Overseer Cat. Why is there no Overseer Cat?
He's running around here somewhere. He's not too happy right now because we have 2 new kittens. So some little ones have invaded his territory, and he's pretty PO'd right now. So he doesn't want anything to do with me. He doesn't want anything to do with my wife. He's just hiding in corners and stuff. So.
Are the kittens bugging him, like coming up and saying, "Hey, play with us"?
No, he just is not a happy camper. That's it.
Fair enough.
He was the only child, so you know.
Well, I think I mentioned this a little bit last week, and some people have noticed. I know that some people were following Team Legacy and Tales of Tyria here as we moved from server to server in the past. We've moved again, in case you hadn't noticed, to the server of Isle of Janthier, and there is sort of one major reason for that. You know, the first time we moved, it was because queue times were atrociously high on Northern Shiver Peaks.
Oh God, yes.
And as a guild that our whole point of existence was to play World versus World, if you can't do that, why even have a guild? So that's why we moved the first time. The second time that we moved was rather simple. There was a lot of sort of harried words going on between Team Legacy and another guild that was on the Eridon Terrace server, basically. Yeah. And we were really not able to enjoy ourselves getting harassed and verbally abused every night, and it really was taking its toll on the people that were trying to lead in the World versus World. So it was like, okay, the first time we had to move because we couldn't play, now we can't play without getting verbally harassed. It's like I'm logging into League of Legends every time when I'm logging into Guild Wars 2, and I don't want to do that. Or Counter-Strike.
It was basically like the community we were in was like a mix of Counter-Strike and League of Legends. It was really bad.
Oh, yeah.
At some
or even worse,
point, so.
Heroes of New Earth. Oh. So we've moved to Isle of Janthier, and I have to say I'm very happy with it. The community at Isle of Janthier is really nice. They've got a lot of cooperation going on within the guilds, not only in World versus World but also in PvE. Everybody there has been very top notch. So I am very happy with there, and I hope that we will have no reason to move anytime in the foreseeable future. I would love to stay on Isle of Janthier for forever, basically.
Yeah, we corrected a lot of mistakes this time moving. Last time we moved, we didn't really talk to anybody, didn't really announce it, as good as we could have. I'm sure you agree. And we're going to make it official. We're going to, not only that, but let's talk to Isle Janthier, see what they think about it. It was unanimous. They were welcoming. They're like, oh, absolutely. We see what you guys do. We love you guys. Come on over. You'll feel welcome. And that was really what we were looking for. I mean, don't you think, Bridger? It was just being able to enjoy ourselves, because we know what TL is capable or not capable of doing in World v World. And it was getting to that point where it was like, are we trying to prove ourselves to other people, or are we just trying to have a good time and because we know what we're capable of? And we really just had to say, okay, alliances, servers, politics, everything, we're done. We know what we want to do. We love what we're doing. I mean, we're having a blast now. Let's just go out there and do it and not worry about everybody else's opinion. Mm-hmm. And so we looked around at different servers. We chatted with guild leaders from over 6-7 different servers I had meetings with. And it was just really, it wasn't looking for the servers. Like, there were servers that would try to prove themselves and say, oh, we got XX alliances. They're so great, and they're elite and they're hardcore and stuff. And that was actually previously, that might have been like, oh wow, that's a good thing we're looking for.
That's what we want. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want. Let's go there. But this time, people that came to us and said, we have the super uber alliance and we have the best skills and this and that, were actually the people that we didn't like. It was like a turn off. So. It was the servers that came up to and said, hey, look, we're not going to give up. We love World v World just as much as you guys do in Team Legacy. We're not necessarily the best server out there, but we're going to have fun going out there either way, winning or losing. And we've seen that. We went in there, we visited Isle Janthier for a little bit. We saw that. They exuded that. It was just, they just were out there to have fun, and they were supporting each other in map, and it's
a positive atmosphere as opposed to a negative atmosphere, and that's the idea.
And that was the polar opposite of where we came from. So it was awesome, and we moved over, and we've had a blast ever since.
There's no more drama. It's fantastic. I love it. And not only that, it's a really good matchup right now. I mean, I was talking to you before. You checked in on the scores, and what was the last place server was like 1,500 points away from the first place server. That's really close over 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, you're looking at less than about 900 points between first place and third place right now.
Wow.
Now, granted, it's the weekend. There's near nonstop queues, but yeah, I mean, this is what World v World is supposed to be. Now, obviously, things are going to die out as people go to work and stuff during the week, but for seeing World v World in an even setting where there's always queues, always players, it's really competitive, really enjoyable.
Absolutely. So if you out there in audience land want to join us on Isle of Janthier, the best times seem to be around lunchtime Eastern time and around 2 a.m. Eastern time, sort of polar opposites of each other. If you're trying to get on there, just keep checking if you can, whenever you can, to see if it goes from full to high, and then you can jump in and get in there. We've got our entire guild in there. Sometimes it takes a couple days of looking, but eventually it does open up and you can get in. So don't give up if you're trying for one day and can't get in. Just try a couple days in a row. Wake up at 2 a.m. Actually, it works out kind of well. I think lunchtime is around dinner time for the people over in Europe. So that probably works out easiest for them if they were trying to get in with us.
The times we've noticed is right around after lunch and right after midnight, because the Oceanics and typically don't start logging on. Their prime time starts around 2 a.m., 3 a.m. So they start logging on around 1 to 2. But then most U.S. players, especially during the week where they have to get up in the morning, start logging off around 11 to 12. So if you could just stay up a couple nights a little later, you can transfer over. Or if you just happen to be home during the day, then it should be an issue. But I wanted to throw out there, Bridger, that we've recently really pushed out recruitment. Because now that we're in a new server, we've realized that without this big old thing called the Ascension Alliance, we have to start, holding some more weight than we normally would have. Previously, we sat around 100 active members, 150 active members during our peak time, and we had other guilds supporting us in different Borderlands. Well, now we don't. So if you're a Tales fan or you're just somebody that wants to enjoy some World v. World, but wants to do so in a manner that isn't elitist hardcore and ruins your personal social life.
And my immersion.
Your immersion. It's obvious. We raid set times during the night. Some people look down on that. We don't force people to raid during the middle of the day. But when we do raid at night, we give it our all. We get pretty detailed with things. So if that sounds like your cup of tea,
and how do they do that? How do they apply?
TeamLegacy.net. Recruitment forums, the very first one at the top.
Okay, excellent.
Yep. So that's it.
The last thing I want to say before we jump right into things is, like I said, I've got Quelp from Team Legacy's structured PvP team joining us next week for the Warrior episode, but I need some other full-time warriors that got up to level 80 where warrior's their main thing. If you think that you want to get up here and talk about Warrior, definitely send me a message. Feedback@talesoftyria.com is how you can get a hold of me, and I can get in touch with you on Skype sometime this week, and we can see how you measure up and sort of, because public speaking is not everybody's foray, so we got to check that out. We don't want to just have any old Tom, Dick, or Harry coming on the show here.
Absolutely, and for all you guys watching, we do these class episodes. Quilp, KW, his name stands for Kittens with Lasers Pew Pew. Okay, so KWLPP. He is on our structure team, arguably one of the best teams out there. I'm not going to say they are the best, but Quilp is one of the best warriors out there. So if you guys if you're a play a warrior, well, coming from a Mesmer, shame on you. But since you're going to play a warrior anyway, you might as well learn how to do it the best you can, and he's one of the best guys out there. So tune in for that and pick up some tips.
All right, starting off with story time this week, ladies and gentlemen. I found this story on Reddit, and it was really, really interesting. So the topic was, what's the most irrational or strangest thing you've done in-game? So what I found here is somebody that says, quote, I have this thing I do whenever I get bored in World vs. World. I go to my server's Borderlands and I head to the Temple of Storms in the middle of the lake. When there, I will /kneel before the altar, and I'll sit there, and I'll wait. I like to think my character is meditating or something, since it probably looks that way. Eventually, an invader or 5 will come by, which is where the fun begins. They usually spend a minute or two scoping the place out by swimming around the island or hiding behind a pillar, looking for a hidden group or seeing if I'm AFK or whatever. Because I'm from the Tarnished Coast, they probably wonder if it's some sort of bizarre role-playing ritual. It usually ends with them attacking me. After summarily downing them, I don't finish them. Instead, I back off and outrange their attack. I bow to them and resume my meditation. At this point, I further observe their reaction. Usually they'll bandage themselves up when they see I've stopped fighting. They might heal up and try another attack, or they might call friends over, at which point I flee into the water. Other times they /bow in return and leave. Sometimes they just get the hell out of Dodge. In one particular instance, they actually joined me in kneeling before the altar. Over the course of an hour or so, there was an entourage of about 6 people meditating at the altar, all from different servers for apparently no reason. At least until another server Zerg rolled by and made us scatter. I haven't the slightest idea why I keep doing it, but I persist nonetheless. I have to say, that was awesome. And that was from Shiyu again, over on the Reddit, the Guild Wars 2 subreddit. So, very cool. Do you guys have any stories of the strangest, weirdest thing you've done while playing Guild Wars 2?
I've been in the jumping puzzles and coordinated with other players before from other servers. Like, I've gone through a jumping puzzle and witnessed somebody else getting trolled by like another player from the third server, and like they kept getting knocked down, or the player was just being a general douche. And so I've gone over there, and then he would point at the character, like he would he would do forward slash point and look, and then cry, and then cry emote and stuff, and then I would nod, and I'll be like, okay. And so we would actually, and then he would like cheer, and then we would go take on that player together. That's happened a bunch of times, and it's really cool to see that, because there is a line between sportsmanship and just being a dick. And he that particular player actually was trying to set up an arrow cart and everything. So we took him out, and I had another TL member with me, and we coordinated to kind of help this guy get forward, because he had apparently been there a long time, just trying to get past this player, ruining his day. So that, I'll never know who that player was, but that relationship, was like unsaid, but there, But that's my coolest spot as far as coordination like that.
I haven't done anything cool, but I love that video of the guy in World v. World who used the potion to turn into like a crow, and would just like hang out on the ledge until someone noticed him there. Did you guys see that video?
No, I did not. So he's turned into a crow and hangs out with the other crows and waits until somebody sees him.
There's no other crows around. It's just like him, and he's standing on the edge, and you see this huge Zerg running by, and one guy happens to notice the crow, and so he runs over and starts attacking him. But when he attacks him, this guy falls off the ledge, and the other person follows him. So now they're just one-on-one, and the other Zerg has no idea what the hell happened, and he just took him out, and then like turned back into a crow and like went about his business. It was a really funny strategy.
Crows. Yeah, I've seen random crows on the battlefield, and they try to fly by you, and where you don't notice them. It's hilarious to watch, because unless you press tab, you don't really pay attention to them, and you're looking for the player logo, but you don't see it. And yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah. There have been times when somebody got away from me in World versus World because they like turned a corner and used a tonic. And we're like chasing him around the corner, and I see like this bird flying away, and I'm like, I don't want to chase the hawk. Where the hell did the dude go? He must have gone invisible. And so I'm start like spamming AOE spells on the ground looking for him, and he doesn't come out. And then I finally realized that keep hitting tab until the bird has like a player's name, like Isle of Jantir Invader or whatever. And I'm like, crap, he's way over there now. Like, bird. It's always the birds. They get me every time. So that I look for that now. Fool me once as it was. But yeah, you can use the tonics, but after you use the tonics, you can't jump. ArenaNet. Let us jump when we have tonics. Come on, this is a needed thing. I'm running around as a steam golem. I want to be able to jump. All right. Anyway, enough of that. We had some feedback, actually, from the last couple episodes. I wanted to throw this in here. Quote, Corey Reynolds says, I heard a lot of hating going on during last week's Mesmer show on the torch. In response, I was determined to try and use it this week. I can say now that the torch is actually an awesome weapon for use in confusion spike builds. There is a trait that gives enemies confusion when you blind them, and the torch's number 4 skill is an area blind and a stealth. In addition, the number 5 skill summons a phantasm that confuses enemies as its main attack. When combined with a scepter, there's no better way to confusion spike. I was also bringing along the utility that summons 2 clones, and I have the trait that confuses on every shatter. With this build, I can quickly stack so much confusion on an enemy that in low-level areas of like Harathi hinterlands, I can get enemies to do upwards of 1700 damage to themselves per skill activation. And most of the confusion effects, except the scepter number 3, are AoE, so you're doing a lot of damage to a lot of people, unquote. Thanks, Corey. That's actually, a pretty good point. The question is, you're doing a lot of confusion stacks, but are you giving up damage in other places? I don't know the answer to that question. Freelancer, does power affect how much confusion damage you do to somebody? Or is it a set number?
I don't believe it does. It's based on your condition damage that actually affects
Oh,
it.
that makes sense.
But I could be wrong on that. But consider one thing here: if you're going to make a build focused entirely around confusion, you might as well say you're making a build that's focused entirely around saying, "Hey, enemy, beat on my face a little bit so that you can kill me."
Yes.
Or so I can kill you. I mean, you're basing a build around taking damage, and I think with the Mesmer, you're not a tank. You can't be a tank without going way into the tank spec.
But what if that was a more support build where you're throwing these things on the enemy while somebody else keeps their attention?
That could work, yes, but unless you coordinate, I mean, if you mess with structure PvP, that's fine. But there's better classes for a support role, at least I feel. And Mesmer has support roles, but they don't regard around being a confusion spec, I guess. I don't know. I don't play enough structure PvP as I likely should to speak on that, but something tells me about going pure confusion. You'd probably, as a Mesmer, be better off in some other areas, focusing around illusions, or even going down a tanky spec with the Mesmer. It's just confusion just seems like one of those abilities where unless you can coordinate with all your other teammates, it's pretty much useless with a Mesmer.
Yeah, and I know Vega's feeling left out. Don't worry, we're getting to engineers sometime eventually.
Don't worry about it.
I just started with Elementalist and Mesmers because those were like go-to people. Like I know Elementalist, I knew iDrops had Elementals. We had 2 Mesmers on the show. That worked out perfect. Now I'm struggling. I got to find more Warriors. But I know we've got you for Engineer. I've got another friend that plays Engineer. We might bring him on the show for that. So stay tuned for that. All right. Next up, we've got another bit of feedback. This time it's from last week's episode. Don't worry, there's no actual spoilers in here. This is more of a spoiler for the Edge of Destiny. So if you haven't read the book Edge of Destiny and you wanted to, you might want to skip the next minute or so, because here it goes. Quote, before the release of Guild Wars 2, when thinking about fighting against Zhaitan, I imagined that we would be in some way recreating the fight from the book Edge of Destiny, in which Snaf wrestled the mind of Kralkatorrik. Imagine, if you will, the players fighting our way into the lair of Zhaitan, and after slogging through the trash, lieutenants and champions of the beast, we finally come face to face with the monster itself. Having reached the base of the mountain known as Zhaitan, Zoja produces a device that allows the players to be teleported inside the mind of the dragon. This proves to be the final battlefield as you descend into the twisted and tormented mind of this elder being. Visions of the nightmares that you have encountered along your journey to this point could replay as you seek the black heart of the beast, continuing to descend ever more into his maddening thoughts until you arrive at your ultimate destination, the id or ego of this malevolent fiend. Having reached this point, you are confronted by the representation of the dragon's mind, perhaps a human, Norn, Char, Sylvari, or Asuran form, or perhaps throughout all the different phases of the fight it changes. It is in this form that you must fight, and in so doing, conquer the beast. Upon successfully defeating the foe, you return to your body, which is surrounded by mounds of undead, which Destiny's Edge have defended you from while you were inside the mind of Zhaitan. Now the music swells, the surviving members of the pack salute you for your deeds, and you receive your final reward. Roll the credits. This would have allowed us to fight the Elder Dragon on a similar level, stayed within the already established lore, and generally been more epic than spamming the 2 button for several minutes. Thanks again, unquote. From Washed. That was just way too epic not to share. Oh, I wish it was something that awesome. Like, the detail that gets me is the one where he says, like, when you come back out, there's, like, mounds of dead bodies that Destiny's Edge have been carving up for you while you were in there. Because throughout most of it, you kind of look at him and you go, what use are you guys? You die in 2 seconds. That would at least prove that Destiny's Edge, once you finally bring them back together, are still worth it, you know? Mm-hmm. Anyway, maybe we can get that for Kralkatorrik. Who knows?
It is pretty cool. And I like how with the Asura, you can just be like, yeah, they just got a device that teleports you inside the mind of a dragon, you know? Yeah. Like, with the Asura, you could do anything.
Exactly. So, anyway, next up is news. But before we go there, I do want to let you guys know we're going to be jumping into some Guild Wars 2 right on this stream, so stay tuned all the way to the end. We're just going to go straight into Guild Wars 2. Going to play some World vs. World. It's going to be fun. If you feel like watching that, stick around. All right, on to the news. The big news of the week, ladies and gentlemen, the shadow of the Mad King. So, this is going to be interesting. Mad King Thorn, is that it? Is that his name, right? Am I thinking that correctly?
Yes.
Is coming back to the world of Tyria. And that moon, look at this moon. That is scary. That is some scary stuff right there. Creepy ass, reminds me of like Zelda and that stupid moon falling on your face all the time. So obviously it looks like the whole event is going to be starting tomorrow. Might be actually tonight at like 3 a.m. Sometimes that's how they do it, but it might be tomorrow. And it's coming in 4 acts. So probably events, maybe scavenger hunt type events of things that you have to try and get, and they sort of all lead up to some big confrontation. I mean, with the dynamic event system, they could do some really cool holiday stuff, right? I think that just sounds awesome.
Yeah. I always love these little, like, the Halloween time comes around, the Christmas time comes around, when everyone kind of does their themed events and so forth.
Oh, man. Look at this concept art.
I can't wait to sell my Black Lion chests in a few days.
We were talking about that before the show. Because one of the things on this particular page is the fact that Black Lion chests are getting a spooky upgrade for Halloween. Between October 23rd and November 5th, each Black Lion chest you open has a chance to give you 1 of 6 exclusive Halloween-themed weapon skins. And they show you here like a chainsaw sword as an example. So that's that sounds pretty cool. And let me just cut straight to the Black Lion chest. This is the day they put that post up. And instantly over the next day or so peaked up here. So at this point, let's see, what was it? It was trading at about 2 to 3 copper, maybe upwards of 4 at some points. And then a day after the announcement, it was trading at 28. So how many thousands did you buy before this all went down?
You remember I told everybody in the guild, what was it, 2 weeks ago, that I was stocking up on them? Remember that?
Yes.
I have about 17 or 18K chests right now.
Wow.
So it's
ridiculous.
You know, it's like when I bought, you know, almost the same amount of Mystic coins, and I stock up on those. You know, it's just like any stock market. You know something's going to happen during the holidays, and you gotta assume that during Guild Wars 1, they had these special little costumes you can get. Which actually, I think my character in Guild Wars 1 still is wearing like the winged outfit that you can get. It's the same deal. It has to be with Guild Wars 2. So I told everybody that I knew that was on my little friends list, and that whispers me constantly. They always ask me, like, I get 20 PMs every night. Like, what do you recommend to make money? What do you recommend to make money? And I'm like, buy chests. And they're like, well, how can I make money off of buying chests? It's like, you're not buying it to make money now. You're buying it to sell later. And they're like, well, I need to make money now. And I was like, well, I can't help you then. I mean, it's
Let me ask this. 500,000 chests were bought up on like this 24-hour period or something. So to me, that raises the question. How many people are buying these chests because they expect to actually open them versus people that saw that and go, wow, chests are going up?
Less than 1%.
I know. That means that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be losing out. I have to imagine. They're going to be losing money off of this deal.
Well, the trick is, the price is going to go up. I would guess, let's see here, 1 second. All right, so right now the current Mystic chest price is
16 buy, 19 sell is what Spidey says.
Sorry, Black Lion chest. It's going for 26 copper. Now, not an hour ago, it was 22 copper. So it's going up, and we haven't even gotten it. Now, what's really going to happen here is players are going to start seeing these custom skins, and I guarantee less than half the population actually knows that you can get special skins from Black Lion chests. Actually, even less than that. Probably don't know anything about that chests will drop items, period. You know, they just think it's just trash like normal, because let's be honest here, Black Lion chests don't really give you anything that you would want to buy a bunch of keys for right now. That said, when they start seeing these custom skins come out, if there's a few of them that have like particle effects, or if there's a few of them that just look cool, players are going to start asking where it's going to get around. There's going to be 1 or 2 items that everybody wants. Mm-hmm. And what's going to end up happening is those particular items, if they are tradable, people will hoard them. Now, guys like myself, I'm sharing this because what the heck? All right. Myself, what I plan on doing, I already have it laid out, is these particular skins being dropped, are they able to be traded or are they account bound? If they're able to be traded, I'm going to very quickly unlock all of them because I'm sitting on 30, 40 keys right now. Find out which ones are actually the cool looking ones, usually the ones with particle effects, some of them that are just really extravagant, and just start massing those because come July next year,
If you
can you
want one of
imagine the
those,
price
yeah.
on those?
Well, I
Yeah.
remember the price of snowballs in World of Warcraft after
Oh, God,
the Christmas thing. People would be selling snowballs for like 50 gold or something ridiculous there. That was a good time, yeah. You could buy those for
Right.
like 30 copper from the vendor during the holiday event, and then it was gone. You could never get snow again.
And then this could just as easily backfire. I mean, before we know it, let's say a month from now, ArenaNet could throw this on their gem store and then ruin all my plans,
It's true. It's
But
true.
these are the kind of things you think about. So, like with Mystic Coins sitting around 4 silver right now, they're going to start dropping in price because until ArenaNet starts releasing something else, they're just going to accumulate again. When they drop in price, same thing I tell everybody. At a certain point, you just need to buy as many as you could possibly have. That keeps you healthy as far as your money, so you can do repairs and stuff. But then hold them. Sit on them for a while. If you have to sit on them for a month or two, that's fine. But just like Black Lion Chess, what's the next big holiday coming up? Christmas. Okay?
Right. Yep.
So right here, you have evidence that ArenaNet is releasing new costumes and stuff for Halloween. They will likely do the same for Christmas. So what you're going to see Black Lion Chess do is they're going to go up in price. Then everybody's going to flood the market trying to sell them. And then they're going to shoot back down in price. And that's the time for all you guys that are willing to wait 1 month to buy as many as you can possibly afford for
That's
your
what I'm
guild or
gonna
yourself. And then sell them around for Christmas. And it just rinse and repeat for every event. And basically, you can attribute these to the Guild Wars 1 events. So anything that happened in Guild Wars 1 throughout the year, you can pretty much assume that Black Lion Chess or Mystic Coins or something similar will have something to do with those events coming up. So without looking at player markets and how things fluctuate, that's an easy way to make money in the long term.
Yep. I managed to sell off about half my Mystic Coins that I bought a whole bunch of at the beginning, and I was very happy they went up from 50 cents to about, I think I sold them at 4.20, something like that. So that was really useful for me. And then I looked at all the things that I could do with Mystic Coins, and I went, shit, I should have held on to those. But, we'll see what happens. Now, there is that weird, mysterious thing in the monthly achievements right now. If you go in there, in place of the Survivor achievement, it's just question marks. So nobody quite knows if you're going to get your next big infusement of Mystic Coins, or the 20 you can get from the monthly achievement, because nobody knows what that last achievement is. Almost certainly has to do with the Mad King situation.
Well, that's absolutely where the Mystic Coins are going to shoot down, like I said. So what's going to happen is everybody's going to see that last achievement. You're going to have people flooding whatever is required to do that, whatever zone. I don't know, maybe it's like trick-or-treating or something. Would it be cool if you had to go to different cities and find particular, I think that was almost in WoW, right? You had to go to different points in WoW, in all the different
Big scavenger
cities.
hunt.
And it was just a giant scavenger hunt. Maybe something similar to that, where you have to kind of trick or treat. Maybe you just have to kill a boss. Obviously, the Mad King's coming. Maybe killing the Mad King gives you the monthly. I don't know.
And somebody in the chat asked, what's the best way to get keys for the Black Lion Chess? Be rich. That's the best way. Just go buy some gems. Although they
Black
do
Lion
seem to
keys-
drop from map exploration, right? And
Right.
personal
The
story?
easiest way, probably without spending money, is just to do map completion. You're likely to get 5 to 15, depending on how you do it. Just completing the world map, but it just comes with you really just have to buy them. And it's always going to be an expenditure. There's no way I've seen so far to buy keys and flip it around and make money off of what you get out of the chest, because nothing dropping from the chest is sellable first off, and it's just not worth it.
Yeah. All right, so now we're done with economy talk for this particular week. Now, here's another couple of things. There's not really a whole lot of discussion to have on these, but it is good to hear, so I wanted to make sure everybody knew about it. Matt Witter, game designer, wanted to put a small update in the World vs. World forums. He wanted everybody to know that they are making progress on culling. Culling is their word for the clipping that happens when too many players are on the screen, so that's good to hear. and they basically said they're not talking about these things because they're still works in progress, and they don't want to like say, hey, we've got this thing and it's going to be awesome, and then have to cancel it because it turned out that there was some major bug that won't let them get it released. So when you don't hear about something, it's probably good in many cases, because it probably means they're working on it, but they don't want to announce something and then find out it doesn't work. So that's very good to hear that they're working on the whole culling thing. The other one is this one here, same thread. I just wanted to quickly add, we've got people working on fixing issues with free server transfers as well. It's proven far more complicated than we originally intended or expected to get done, but it's absolutely being built in and bug free.
Oh yeah, the problem with that is these matches we're in now, the 1 week matches and 24 matches, were meant to even out, basically distribute the ranking for the servers. Now that would work if the servers were static, like the populations were the exact same no matter what. But what you have here, and Team Legacy and hundreds of other guilds were a part of this, is as servers rise and fall, these guilds are transferring back and forth. And so let's assume like Henjin Ravi, which was early on a really high-ranking server. If nobody was capable of transferring, then the ranking system, these test matches, would have worked like they were intended to. You know, Henjin and Ravi would be placed against other high-ranking servers, and you would typically have decent, we'll say decent matchups for the most part, staying there. But what's happening is ArenaNet has these 1 week matchups now because they've gone past the 24-hour matchups. And these servers that are being ranked with ELO ratings are being completely flipped upside down. I don't think there's a top 6 server that has 50% of the population that's been the same since the day it started. Besides maybe like, maybe Isle of Janthier, maybe Blackgate. But these servers now are being, like Blackgate's being inundated with just every guild out there. You know, all of these bigger guilds that want to win are flooding Blackgate. So it's becoming the next Henjin and Ravi. So it's artificially inflating that server's ranking. It's going to shoot to number 1, and then it'll likely implode due to the egos there, and then it'll fall apart. But then, you know, what was the whole point of the ranking system? What if ArenaNet says a couple weeks from now, and I hope they see this, that, you know, it turns out our ranking system needs to be reset, because obviously the ELO ratings being formed now aren't depictive of the player populations actually there, because of how, you know, how much they've, I don't know, migrated, I guess would be the word.
The transfers are still free, right?
Right now they're still free. And
so maybe they should do something like after they eventually make the transfers not free, then, you know, kind of reset all the ELOs for all the servers, because then I think once the free transfers are gone, it's going to, you know, at least
that's
level
what I'm
out
getting
a
at.
little bit.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They're going to either have to stop transfers and restart this matchup, you know, determining where servers lie, or they're going to end up finding out where players find out, like last day, that they have XX time to transfer. They're all going to transfer to a server that's either high tier or not, and then transfers end, and you find these servers are completely lopsided one way or another. So they gotta reset that ELO.
Yeah, it depends on how the ELO works, but I remember reading a big description of how the Microsoft TrueScale system worked, and one of the components of that was over time it would allow you to shift less easily, like when it's first trying to sit your ranking. And I don't know if this is how ELO works too, but I'm assuming that maybe it is. It has 2 numbers. It has your ELO ranking itself, essentially, and then it also has sort of how accurate it thinks this is. Like, I'm 50% confident that this is the right number. And over time, the confidence number would get higher because it has more data. They might not need to reset the ELO if they can reset the confidence down so that the rankings are more fluid. I don't know if that's part of the system that they've developed, but I know that's been part of other systems. So that is also another possible example. And now we're getting into math, and that's unnecessary.
But yeah, the good thing is ArenaNet seems to have said, like, we see the problem, we're fixing it. It got complicated, you know, because I don't think they expected as many I don't think they expected alliances, period, to be such a big influence in the game. I don't think they expected large guilds moving to be a big move in the game. You know, and it really affect the population like they have and affect the ratings. I mean, Henjin and Ravi is a great example. It's plummeting to the bottom of the rankings. When we left Northern Shiver Peaks, you know, good or bad in many different ways, a lot of guilds followed us, a lot of fans and stuff followed us, and that plummeted. So it artificially increased that server's ranking to a certain point where they had to endure these 1 week matchups, and that wasn't right either. So they're going to, just like Vega said, they're going to have to either reset the ELO rating or figure out something that can even out things. Now, did you notice also, Bridger, that they mentioned they're going to try to figure out ways to where if you're completely being like, if you're at the butt end of a landslide, they're looking to see about, creating some fun in that or doing something about that.
Yeah.
Essentially, if the whole map's taken, they're looking at ways to where you could still go out and have fun. Maybe, I don't know. What do you think they're doing with that?
I don't know. That's a good question. Now, and I kind of want to draw a parallel to PlanetSide 2 here because they have the same problem. Let's say, for example, in your Borderlands in Guild Wars 2, your server gets pushed back basically to your entry point, and you're one of the southern points, right, of a Borderlands. Then you need supply in order to assault a tower or a keep or something, but you can't get supply because you don't have any supply. I mean, in Guild Wars 2, it's a little bit easier because you can go and take a supply camp fairly easy and get the resources you need. In PlanetSide 2, it's harder because you have to take many different locations in order to get supplies, in order to build tanks, in order to take those locations, and you get the Catch-22 situation. Now, something that was really interesting that I thought, and this is where I'm tying all this together, somebody suggested a solution in PlanetSide 2 that I think might work well in Guild Wars 2 for the same sort of situation. They said that at your main home area in PlanetSide 2, make the ground vehicles at a discount, so that if you're pushed all the way back there, you can still get stuff and it's, cheaper for you. But if you're pushed way out and you want to get the cheap discounted prices, you have to drive a really long distance. Now, that doesn't transfer exactly over to Guild Wars 2, but this is what I'm thinking. Maybe the less territory you have, the less supplies that you need to build a siege engine or something like that. Some kind of way to sort of get people back in the game. And even that doesn't seem like it's enough, because it's usually not that people need supplies. It's just that people need some way to break out of their area where they're being defeated. So I don't know. Do they need to get buffs? Does the other team need nerfs? Maybe you get some temporary supply when you spawn in so you can build defenses around your... No, that won't work either. I can't think of anything what they would do, but I just got to let the geniuses at ArenaNet figure this one out.
You know what they need? They need an oversized version of a Charzuka that is placed inside your spawn that you can enter, and it shoots you across the map. There you go. Solve all your problems.
Going, I didn't agree to this!
Yeah. You can just load up your entire little party or guild in there and just aim roughly where you think you might land and just shoot across the sky.
Yeah.
That'll fix it. Or what about airships? I mean,
that's a good idea.
What about airships? I mean, where did the airships go in the game? You remember that concept art with the giant airship in the sky?
Well, I mean, you still see some of them in ore a little bit.
Yeah, maybe you could do something crazy where there's an airship, landing, and you can take it and it takes you to a random part or something. I don't know, but they got to have to do something crazy.
There's already a surrogates. You think that you just make like smaller surrogates to kind of like in TF2 with the engineer teleporters?
Like portals? We could think with portals here. Yeah, no, I mean it's a very difficult concept because it's one of those things where usually, I mean, in Guild Wars 2, the mechanics are such that I don't think it's really a rich get richer situation. Now that I think about it, in PlanetSide 2, it's a poor get poorer, rich get richer situation. But in Guild Wars 2, that's really not the case. The reason a server is locked into their, base or their starting spawn zone isn't necessarily because they can't get the resources to break out. It's usually because of either numerical advantage or simply coordinational advantage that isn't going to be something you can simply fix, I mean, how do you fix it when one server is really coordinated and the other server is not?
You don't, and I think that's a problem in itself. I mean, it's hard to answer that one because ArenaNet. First off, everybody needs to understand ArenaNet never meant World v World to be super hardcore. Everybody formed these Roman military strategies like we do, and we do that for fun. But ArenaNet didn't really design World v World to be like that. The idea of World v World was to be an introduction into structured PvP. So where I don't think they expected this turn to happen was where guilds like Team Legacy and there's tons of awesome guilds out there, took it way too seriously.
The skill ceiling and the skill floor are very wide apart.
Right.
Because there are so many aiming for that skill ceiling.
Exactly. So you have players in PvE. The idea was to merge PvE and PvP. Basically, you would be able to have the best of both worlds. You get a little bit of enemy, human-controlled enemies. You get some mobs and guards and stuff. But the dynamic really changed with that. You still see this, by the way, in its true form, how ArenaNet designed it on the really low-pop servers, because any competitive player likely wouldn't have gone to this server. So if a good community like Isle Janthier, when we went to Kaining and when we went to some of these really small ones, they literally are, they go out there, they're not looking to win, they're just looking to kind of mix up some mobs with some enemy players, and they have a good time doing it. ArenaNet was the whole idea that they had was that you go out World v World, you enjoy killing other players, and then you want to take it to the next level as far as organization. Well, that would have worked fine if they didn't introduce 8-player structure PvP, but that's a whole nother story in itself. The idea, though, that was their original game plan, and I think what we've found and what ArenaNet didn't really plan enough for is that giant alliances, guilds, etc., are taking World v World more seriously than structure PvP in some instances. So it's a matter of balancing them out, and they can balance it out to an extent with the ranking system, but then these guilds move from one server to another, and that's where we're at now.
Now,
I remember when they were first taught, like way back when they were originally talking about all the features that Guild Wars 2 is going to have. They're saying, oh, you're going to have the PvP and these dynamic events and all this other stuff, and you're going to fight dragons. Then they're like, oh, and there's this other thing where you could just kill everyone with like huge battlefields. It was like an afterthought, it almost seemed like. And now, like you said, people really took it seriously and it blew up. And I just don't think that ArenaNet realized how much it was going to blow up.
That might be true. To me, I think it's more that, the organizational aspect of it is so much more powerful than people can realize. The simple concept of everyone being on voice communication is like a 3 times multiplier or more in terms of just force capability. Like if you have a force of 20 people that are all in the same voice channel, all listening to the same person giving everybody orders, and another group that all has agreed and follows one person's orders completely, and they have some prearranged battle plan, and they execute it perfectly, it doesn't matter. The guys on voice communications are just going to be able to work together so much more fluidly and dynamically. That force multiplier by itself, discounting any other kind of organization or special strategies developed to take advantage of voice communication, is so huge that you get a situation where 1 or 2 servers start fighting it out and duking it out, and the third server just gets pushed to the side, or even maybe 2 servers just get pushed to the side. One server goes on into the hundreds of thousands of points, owning all of the maps, and you look at it and go, how could this be? Is it because they've steamrolled and they just keep rolling down this hill? No, it's not. They are just that much better, quote unquote, incapable is probably the better term, because they're more organized. And so how do you do that? How do you balance that? I think right now, as we said, the top tier is really well balanced right now. Is it a question of maybe as more and more of these strategies sort of get out there, it will democratize the world versus world experience as more people learn how to get these organizations going? What do you think,
I'll tell you how to organize it.
What do you think?
Go ahead,
What was the question about? If organizations,
how do you organize it?
If people organize, if the secret, the sort of methods to organization and the strategies that are used by guilds like Team Legacy and others become more and more open and more available, and more people learn about them, will that sort of help even things out and bring the bottom level up?
It'll help, but if you look at it, by the time they learn, what the bigger guilds are doing, those strategies, those bigger guilds are already going to be moving forward and having newer strategies that it's just going to make them even more organized and more in sync with what they got to do. True. So, the thing about World v World is that you're never really going to balance it, because the bigger groups that are more organized are always going to have the upper hand, as opposed to a smaller group. And I mean, we can get into a whole discussion about that, but yeah, like you said, it's communication and organizations it's what's key. But I mean, I think it's almost impossible for ArenaNet to truly balance World v World out. It's just going to go back to the server rankings and making sure that the servers with the more organized guilds are fighting the servers with the other more organized guilds.
Freelancer, you were saying?
I was going to say, what they should have done a long time ago and what would alleviate part of the problem, not fix it, is voice chat in game. I mean, the big problem. I really hate to go to PlanetSide 2 or previous MMOs, but take a look around you. I mean, you go back to WoW or you go back to Lord of the Rings. You move forward to PS2. You move forward to other MMOs that have been announced, no names mentioned. They all have voice chat in game. So what happened with Guild Wars 2? Why is the voice chat not in there? And I understand some players, like we got some in chat, oh, I hate voice chat, it's people spam it, but you can control that, just the same as you can control people in map chat to a certain extent. I just think with a commander or with local chat, having some sort of close range chat, it would be incredibly useful. Yeah, proximity chat you would change the whole dynamic of how World v World works. Because if some player says there's a trebuchet being set up in the corner, and there is, all the other players will immediately look whether they want to listen to that guy or not. If some player says Zerg coming from our back, he can say that immediately without typing it out and then already being killed. I just think voice chat in 2012 is almost a requirement for video games, especially games like this where you have to coordinate with each other. I think text chat in general, like the map chat, the team chat, the squad chat, and all that. Tell me a squad I've been in 3 servers. I've been in probably over 12, 15 commanders, following them until we get our group going. Not a single group uses squad chat because if you're a commander, typically you have a TeamSpeak server, so that means half the population following that commander doesn't have any clue on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Team Legacy, we try to invite people to our TeamSpeak, but that still leaves the other 30-40% of the pugs trying to follow along, And I just think having an in-game close proximity or maybe a commander chat that you can select to say, I want to listen to this commander or I don't want to listen to him.
I think joining a commander squad should be the opt-in, hey, I'm following this guy around, I want to hear where they're going. Because nobody likes being the guy who didn't realize that the squad suddenly retreated because there was a big Zerg coming. We've had that situation in the past where we're trying to react very quickly because all of a sudden there's an enemy army at least as big as ours coming at our back as we're trying to assault a gate, and the commander, Freelancer, or somebody else in Team Legacy is on voice chat, and he says, guys, get back towards the garrison, go now, full retreat, and like you said, half the thing doesn't respond until they suddenly realize there's no friends around them and there's an enemy Zerg in their face, and it's too late for them. Now, a lot of people in chat, we've got Whiskey Jack in chat is saying that could never work, it's not going to happen, nobody likes voice chat, everybody just turns that stuff off, but you know what? It's already working. PlanetSide 2 is even bigger than World vs. World. And they have a proximity voice chat, a squad-based voice chat, a platoon-based voice chat, and a commander-based voice chat. And even if you never join and they have outfit voice chat. Even if you never join an outfit, even if you never join a squad and team up with other players, you can talk to other people right near you. Which means if you're defending a tower with a bunch of other people and somebody says, there's an infiltrator going for the shield generators, and you're within, 30 yards of that player, suddenly you have information that you otherwise would not have had. And that is used a lot. And it's used when I pull up in a galaxy at the spawn point where everybody's coming into the thing, and I just want to form an impromptu squad, and I say, hey, I'm bringing a galaxy over here to hit this point. Who wants to join me? Come over here. I'm forming a squad. So now I got a whole bunch of, I've just basically advertised to a whole bunch of people that are in the area, probably looking for a team, because that's usually what they're doing at a warp gate. They're looking for a squad. They're getting ready to move out. So there, now I can get a bunch of people, get their attention. I don't have to type it out. And when people get in my galaxy, even if they're not in my squad, sometimes I'm traveling around with Team Legacy guys. Other people will join in our Sunderer or our galaxy. We can announce to them our intentions. Even though we're on TeamSpeak, I can still say to him, hey, we're going to hit this point, get ready to jump out, or what have you. So that works really well.
I think the voice chat is definitely a good thing, but I feel it's also only half the battle because, yeah, now you have people communicating with each other, but I mean, how much training did TL do with buildings and timings and how to stay as a group and how to work efficiently?
You're right about that, Vega, but consider this. The top servers right now, okay, have server-wide TeamSpeak servers. All right. Now, do you think that's a coincidence, or do you think that falls into a plan? Like Isle Janthier, Jade Quarry, Stormbluff, Henjin and Ravi back when they were running. I think Crystal, I know a couple others, but let's say the top 3 servers going on right now have very necessarily for all the players, not for every little single person out there, but all of the commanders certainly use them. I've popped into all 3 TeamSpeaks, welcome and unwelcome, just to see what it was like. And I've seen every commander, like with commander tags and what borderland there are and them talking to each other and how they're going to coordinate. And it's amazing. I don't think that's a coincidence. What do you think?
Well, no, I'm not. I agree with you that voice chat makes things more organized and that people can benefit from it. But, when you put it in game and you have people that are still using it, I feel like there's still going to be... I'm just saying it's not the solution to the balancing issue. It'll help it, most certainly. But I think even if you get people the communication, you still have to get people to follow someone and follow orders correctly and on time. And I think that, that's just going to come with, playing the game and stuff like that. But I do agree that voice chat is necessary if, to help that out.
I think the biggest hurdle to kind of close on this, as far as my opinion, is why in-game? Why not just use TeamSpeak or Mumble or what have you? Because whether we all choose to admit it or not, over half the population in Guild Wars 2 are not hardcore players. They likely have never heard of TeamSpeak ever in their lives.
The defaults matter. That's really the thing. The defaults matter. If anything can be learned from Microsoft's experience as a company, default settings matter a lot. If you include voice chat by default, a huge number of people are going to use it that wouldn't have otherwise used it before. That's just the facts of life.
Funny story. Actually, we had Pugs following us, and trust me, we love trying to get everybody collaborators. We've done big events with what we call Pugs, but we actually had a few. One in particular I'll never forget, where we told them, hey, look, if you get in TeamSpeak, we can put you in some of our groups, have a good time. You'll be basically a guild member. We'll get you a little specialized group. You'll have a blast. Told them about TeamSpeak, and they downloaded it. Came to me 2 days later and said, TeamSpeak is a Trojan. It gave me viruses. I don't even know what the hell you had me download. They were basically, they had no idea what TeamSpeak is. We asked them to download TeamSpeak, and then something happened, I guess, to their computer, and they blamed it on this program called TeamSpeak. It's just accessibility. A lot of players have no idea what these voice comm things are, especially if you're a mom or a dad and you bought Guild Wars 2 and you're just having a good time because the game caters to that. It's just accessibility, and that's why it's more and more important these days for games to have. You shouldn't have to rely so much on third-party programs, which TeamSpeak is a third-party program, to play a game at the level that everybody else is playing at.
Yep, agreed 100%. Now, people in the chat are saying, but what about griefers and trolling and people getting on there and just swearing and using racial slurs,
what does every other game do? You right-click, ignore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
now,
you just have a mute.
I mean, what's easier than that?
To me, though, ArenaNet has shown their interest in being proactive on these kinds of fronts. People. There was a Reddit thread where somebody marveled at the fact that the public chat, when he's going around the game, isn't filled with racial slurs and people pretending KKK and other people just trolling and griefing. And, because it's, what is it, Gabriel's internet fuckwad theory. If you get normal person plus anonymity plus audience equals total fuckwad, right? That's the whole thing. And so ArenaNet has said, okay, if somebody gets a whole bunch of reports, they look at it and say, okay, that's not cool, 72-hour ban. And so when somebody gets one of those 72-hour bans, they're not going to, pay attention. They're going to pay more attention to what they're and be more courteous to people because, the next one could be a perma ban or even like, a 4-week ban or what have you. And if they want to play, they'll pay attention. If they don't, they'll get banned forever anyway. It doesn't matter. Now, to me, one of the most important things that I think could be done for voice chat-like systems is something I listened to on, I don't know if you guys watch the, what is it called? Now I can't remember it. It's on the Penny Arcade TV website. Extra Credits. They talked about this in detail, and they basically said if X number of people have ignored you on voice chat or in text chat or what have you, your chat privileges get revoked for a certain period of time. If there are so many people out there that are appalled by your behavior, you get proactively stopped before you start again. And people now have to, opt into hearing you instead of opt out of hearing you because you've abused it too much. And that maybe goes away after a month or so. But to me, that kind of proactive solution could really make it work. And even if you maybe get it so that it might be slightly abusable or something like that, I still think that's way better than having it dialed way too low. I don't know. That's me, though.
Yeah, I mean, I like to try to imagine Roman soldiers pulling out a piece of parchment and writing down an order, when things happen during a battlefield or, it's...
Well, they did do that. You sent a runner somewhere who got killed, and the vital order to retreat never made it there.
This just comes down to the whole conversation was organized guilds and groups. Will it ever compare to the rest of the population? It will to a large extent if you give them the same tools. And you can't say, well, go tell all of them to download TeamSpeak because they're not going to. So if you're going to give them the same tools, that's the way to fix it. I mean, there's really no other option. You got to give communications everything. TL, these other great guilds, nobody's super special. It's just communication. We have our lines of communication down pat. If other players are given the same tool, there you go.
Yep. All right. So I think we've probably hit that dead horse long enough. So let's move on to the mailbag, ladies and gentlemen. Got a couple of questions before we finish up here tonight. Quote, before the game was released, we were told that the leveling curve for time would be different than other MMOs, leveling out at a certain point. So far, I've leveled 2 characters to level 80 and feel as if it's more of a bell curve, getting easier or faster after about level 35. I was wondering if your experience is the same feeling, or if simply because each level no longer feels like it's taking a longer amount of time that we get used to the time for each level, making it feel like it was shorter. Sorry for the wording is confusing there. Unquote. So that's from Dagnus. That's his first question. What about you guys? Does it feel like the levels go faster when you get higher in the game?
To me, I checked it. I checked the age the other day, and I literally had an hour per level.
Wow.
Where, that's how it broke down. I was at, what level am I at now? I'm low. I'm like 60, and I had exactly 60 hours in. It was like 60 hours in 5 minutes or something like that. And I was really surprised when I read that, because I do feel like I'm leveling up faster now than I was in the beginning, but I think it's mainly because in the beginning, you're still finding things to do, whereas now at my level I could do this dungeon or that dungeon, or you have more stuff to choose from, so it just feels like you're leveling up faster. But as far as what Arena has done, I think they've done a great job with it, because I never once do I feel like I'm grinding out. I always feel like I'm progressing and leveling up.
Yeah. You make a good point there about dungeons. He said it starts to get a little faster on level 35. Maybe dungeons give you a lot more efficient XP if you can clear them well, and that's what some people are experiencing, perhaps. What about you, chat room? Is it getting faster or slower? I'm interested to see what people are saying. Just type one word, faster or slower, as you level up. Does it feel faster? Does it feel slower? To me, I think it felt a little faster, and I would almost blame that on the fact that when I was leveling through my 30s to 50s, it felt like the zones were empty of events. Events seem to give you the best XP. You get with a bunch of people and mob spawn really quickly and you can kill them really fast. But around those levels, it seemed like when I was leveling up, which was I was ahead of most of the population at the time, right when the game launched, that there were not that many people near me and not that many events spawning. But then I sort of I sort of slowed down and leveled up in World v. World for a while, and then when I got back to doing stuff in Ore, the events seem to be coming faster and more furious. So maybe to me, that seems faster when you get towards the end of the game.
I think something we're not considering here is that early on in the game, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have a lot of resources typically, so you don't do a lot of crafting. Later on, you have money and resources, and you take a moment to pause, and you go to the town, and you realize, hey, I can go to the auction house and buy, now I have something to spend my money on that I've gotten from all these quests. So I think it feels faster typically as far as the actual level, because you fill in a lot of the gaps with crafting. If you haven't finished a zone and you don't feel like going back there because you want to start the next zone, you typically start crafting to get you to a certain level, like to get to level 70 or something. And you have the money to do that, whereas early on you don't. So it feels like it's faster, but it's artificially faster.
Well, I know personally, I haven't done a single crafting on my current engineer.
You could probably get to level 80 right now.
I probably could, because I saw like a Reddit post that someone got to level 80 in 8 hours just
Somebody else did it in 4. They said 8 hours, I can do it in 4 hours. Now they had all the gold to simply buy all the materials, and so in 4 hours they just crafted all the things.
Yeah, so I've just been kind of saving my stuff up because I don't feel where I'm at right now and the way I'm clearing things out. I don't feel like I need better gear right now, where I need to, craft certain things to kind of, I guess for gear wise. Same thing with like my karma. I haven't really spent any of my karma because I just find that everything I'm finding, I don't feel inefficient when I'm trying to kill things and clear dungeons. But yeah, I mean the crafting is that is another big part as to why it feels so much faster for sure.
Now let me ask this question. Is there any solution, because this has been a problem in damn near every MMO except EVE Online, maybe even a problem there, is there any solution to all of the junk that you make when crafting and then never make again once you pass a certain level? Like, there's just so much junk that you make and throw on the auction house. Oh, wait, no, you can't because it's already at vendor price because everybody else has made one of those items too and is trying to sell them. What could you do to make crafted items at lower levels useful? Is there a way?
Yeah, make them more unique as far as aesthetics. I think what we're going to see this game turn into, much like Guild Wars 1, because of the way the mechanics and the stats work, is it's going to be a runway show for players. The end game is either you World v World, you do structure PvP, or you try to develop the largest closet of clothes you can possibly get.
Now, as of right now, though,
so lower tier clothes, like the most popular one that actually is above vendor price is the winged set, like the one I wear in World v World. That's a great example of a lower tier set, a level 65 set, I think it is, that people craft specifically for the look. Now, what this means, Bridger, is they need to really elaborate on other clothes that sort of have a generic, maybe a little bit of more frou-frou in a certain spot, and actually give each set a kind of a unique look.
Just to point this out to people who don't know, there's a really nice site called Guild Wars 2 Armor, GW2armor.com. If nobody's seen, have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
This is really, really useful. Now, what I learned from this, though, is it doesn't matter what crafting discipline there's only one armor set. There's only one look to crafted armor that you get when you learn it from the actual crafting profession. So if you go through and level up, what did I choose? I chose medium armor, I think, on this. If you click on Sylvari medium armor, this is what medium armor looks like on a Sylvari. This is every single thing that you can craft looks like this. But there are other recipes that you can get from other things that look differently. So I think the one that I found somewhere was, where did I see it? Maybe the one I found was a light one. But there's another one, like you can get recipes out in the world from karma vendors, and it makes one of these other ones in some situations. So
and this is GW2armor.com, guys.
Yes, GW2armor.com. It has.
We'll put that in the show notes for you guys.
Definitely. This is a really nice site if you're looking to try and make the character look right, because it shows you every piece of armor looking. How it looks different on every character class in, well, race in the game. So very cool. So to me, I was kind of blown away. I thought that when I was crafting stuff, I wasn't necessarily looking at it, but I thought it was going to be different. But no, if you are a human wearing crafted armor that you get while you level, it always looks like this. If you're crafting heavy armor, I should say. So I think you're right. If they diversify the lower level stuff a little bit more, maybe that would help. But at the moment, it doesn't. So, I don't know. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yeah, the only truly unique stuff I've seen is the racial armors, that you spend obscene amounts of gold for. I mean, heck, I haven't even bought them yet. And,
I think it's 20... Isn't it karma that you spend on the racial armors?
No. 20 gold a piece for, like, the tier 1 racial stuff. It's pretty insane. Like, it's 1 gold a piece or 2 gold a piece, something like that, for like the tier 1 racial armors, and then it's 5 gold a piece, I believe, for the tier 2. I might be a little off, but then it's like 20 gold a piece for the tier 3 racial stuff, for each and every race. So, I mean, that's just one example, but I think if they make the lower tier stuff more unique, I think we'll see a fix to this.
That's possible. That's possible. All right, anyway, we're getting off track here. Let's get one more question here by Dagnus, who says, quote, "This is a bit more of advice to everyone for the personal story that I would love to share, and I won't be spoiling anything. When a player is doing their personal story, I think it's best not to go to Claw Island, but instead wait till you're level 60 to go there instead of the level 50 requirement. The reason for this is that the events that come after and happen till level 60 are somewhat time sensitive, i.e. hurry, we have to do this or that. I wonder if you think it's a good bit of advice and you should totally share it." Unquote. Thank you, Dagnus. What he's talking about is it feels really, there's a lot of immersion breaking when you're level 50, you go to Claw Island, and you do that whole thing, and then it's like, quick, we have to do this, and then it says requirement, level 53, and you're like, well, shit, I can't quickly, I have to go and spend hours and hours helping the people of Bloodtide Coast, or whatever, until I am high enough level to go do the next thing. So it feels, narrative-wise, it's a real big break. And what he's recommending, and this is actually probably a good recommendation for everybody, is don't do your personal story the instant that you can. Wait until you're a couple levels above it, because usually that means that you'll be able to do 2 or 3 or 4 in a row, and the narrative will be continuing. You have to go, man, what was I doing in that story? I don't even remember. Like, oh, it was something with the quagging. Yeah, we'll figure it out. So I think that works out really well. If you just do 2 or 3 in a row until you're at a limit, and then wait, do a bunch of other stuff, then come back and pretend you're starting anew. All right. So, I got one more question. You guys got time for one more question? What do you think?
I think so.
All right. This is a pretty big one. Let's try it out. Here we go. Sarat says, quote, "I was curious on your opinion of the 100% map completion achievement included in the World vs. World maps. In order to get the 100% map completion title and rewards, you have to fully explore all 3 of the Borderlands and the Eternal Battlegrounds. I, for one, loathe the idea. I have nothing against PvP, but it just seems unfair to force a PvE player to go to a PvP zone to complete this accomplishment. And it also hurts the World vs. World players by having a slot taken by someone not contributing to their server's cause. What if Freelancer and Team Legacy was prevented from getting into World vs. World just to have a bunch of explorers run around the map? Just want to know your opinions. Love the wealth of information on the show. Truly a gem, blah, blah, blah. Side thought is this ArenaNet's way of getting players to try new things when it comes to endgame, with the additional drive to have players fight for the server to cap structures and get points of interest and vistas as a reward? Just seems like coercion to try World vs. World." Unquote. Thank you, Sarat, for the question. That is very thought-provoking and interesting. It's certainly one in which people probably have a different opinion.
No. The coercion to try World vs. World is the bonuses you get from World vs. World. The gathering bonuses, the world bonuses, they call them. That's the coercion, because in that case, if you are wanting to farm and stuff, you as a player, at least as a guild at the very least, know that in order to get plus 5% gatherer or what have you, you have to do some World v World to get it. I disagree with him with ArenaNet. I agree with him about World v World should be separated from PvE. So the idea of getting 100% map completion and required to go out in World v World, especially if you didn't buy the game or you didn't plan on doing PvP, you shouldn't be forced to do that. And essentially these players are forced. And if you rolled on a server that is always just really not big into World v World, there are chances that you will never get certain points for weeks and weeks on end because your server can't take stone mist, for example. You know, I think that's very unfair. That said, you know, that almost encourages transfers if you think about it, because then players have to transfer between servers just to complete their map completion, and I think that's also sort of a shame.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I agree with them. I think that it should be separated. And when I found out that it was combined, it was like, you know. And then we also noticed that players coming in, like he's mentioning the scenario of somebody, explorers coming in and failing at World v World. We experienced that. We saw that. When the original rush for legendaries, like when everybody was still rush to get the gifts of exploration, we had people coming into the map asking Team Legacy if we could take particular points, and they would pay us gold in return if we could take a tower. Oh yeah, and if we took a particular tower for him because he just needed that 1 point, he would send like 3 gold. And it was really interesting, and I was like, well, what are you talking about? Like, well, I got to have that for my completion. It's like, wow, you know, and it didn't hit me. Like, I didn't know because I didn't really push for completion. I think I'm, 62% or something. But it really hit me that PvE players are having to come in and sacrifice different things, their time, their money, what have you, to try to convince people to help them do stuff for their PvE title.
Or wait or transfer servers, like you said. Like maybe you have, well, our server's getting rocked in Eternal Battlegrounds this week. Guess I'm not going to get the Stone Mist one. Or, hey, we're on the Red Keep, and there's no way we're going to claim the Lowlands Keep, you know, in the bottom left corner, the green one. So I guess we're screwed. I can't get that keep. I have to wait until we get changed into the green team in order to get that keep or that vista or what have you. That is a big pain. I have to agree with you. At first, my first reaction was, no, actually, since the gift of exploration was required for legendaries and you're supposed to master all parts of the game, then you should have to go into World versus World to get them. And then it hit me, but you already require the gift of battle for a legendary. So this just seems an ancillary tacked on thing that probably, maybe it should just be a separate title. You know, it should be a separate achievement and a separate world completion title. You got all the Borderlands and Eternal Battlegrounds, bam, here's your reward. And if you get all the PvE ones, here's your reward. You know, I feel like they should just be separated.
Well, I think it's also, you know, because if you look at the normal Guild Wars 2 map, like when you're in PvE, there is no little, like, oh, here's the Eternal Battlegrounds, you know, like you can't see it from the normal map, if I'm not mistaken. You know, it's its own separate thing entirely, so it should be separated.
All right. I apparently went to the wrong Borderlands. I was getting ready to play tonight, and the guild, the guild status, freelancer, says IOJ Borderlands. So I went there, but that is apparently incorrect. All right, so I'm going to try to get into the, what you call it, the actual Eternal Battlegrounds is where we're playing tonight, it looks like. So in the meantime, you guys can hopefully enjoy whatever I wind up doing in here, and then we're going to have some good times in World versus World tonight. How's everybody like about that? I'm getting ready for it. Are you guys ready?
So we're going to do it on the Tales of Tyria stream?
Yeah, we're going to do it right on the Tales of Tyria stream. Why not?
Oh, man.
Yeah, let's do it. Come on.
All my secret tactics and... No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, my stars. This is going to give away
Didn't I promise
everything.
I was going to bring the kittens on the show real quick? Yeah. All right, so let's wrap up. I'll do that in after show.
All right, so... Thanks, everybody, for watching. We do appreciate all of your contributions here in the chat room. That definitely helps us out. It keeps us in line, keeps us make sure we remember things that otherwise would be forget. That's one of the things I really like about doing the show live here and getting everybody watching. So we are going to jump into Isle of Janthier, Eternal Battlegrounds, apparently, which means I've got to get queued up for it here in a moment. Which one is this one? Is this it? Lock-On is also in the wrong Battlegrounds, it looks like. So I'm queued up now.
Let me throw it out there real quick, if you don't mind. We have run out of guilds that are looking for a shout-out on Tales of Tyria. Likely due to launch, everybody getting mixed up in servers and such. But if you are wanting a plug to get some recruitment for your guild, it doesn't matter if you're on our server or our enemy server, or, it doesn't matter at all. We want to help you guys out, get some recruitment going. You know, as you guys, we heard, we announced it tonight, you know, Team Legacy is recruiting again, but we want to hear from you guys as well. We know there's a ton of great guilds out there, and if you are openly recruiting, send Bridger or myself some email, and we'll get you a little plug on here.
Yep, feedback at talesoftyria.com is how you can get a hold of us. I do have a few more, but a lot of them are really old, and I don't want to, chance the guilds not having
Some of
being
them don't
around
exist
anymore.
anymore.
Exactly. So if you sent it in previously and it didn't get put on, send us to us again. We're going to do a full refresh here and try to get one a week again, get back into the habit of doing that. So if you want a guild shout out, tell us a little bit about your guild too. Don't just send me a link to your website. Tell us about your guild. What's going on with it? Usually I can find the information in the About tab, but I need some information to go with. Otherwise, how are we going to give you a shout out? We just can't.
And this question of the week, Bridger, if you don't have one, I got one.
Go ahead.
What do you think? All right. So this is what we want to know from you guys. And this, I'm going to try to pass this on in a more official format to ArenaNet. Is what do you think could be done, whether it's transfers, communication, what have you, to equalize or better promote a competitive World v. World environment? We want to hear from you guys. Send some email. Bridger and myself will go through it. I mean, look at all the facets of World v. World. What do you think will even it up?
Good question. Good. We can't figure it out. Maybe somebody else can. Brainstorm. That's the key. That's the key, ladies and gentlemen. All right, stay tuned.
Somebody out there is a master strategist and has the perfect idea for this, and there you go. It's gonna be that eureka moment,
If you're watching this or listening to this afterwards, you're gonna be able to find this on the stream, and I'll probably upload it to YouTube as well. The After Tales of Tyria World vs. World Mayhem. So check that out too. If you're watching the stream, stick around. We're going to World vs. World. It's gonna be great. Have a good one. Alright, so what I'm going to do, though, is reformat the stream here so that I can actually broadcast at high quality. So the stream is going to go down very temporarily, guys, so we will be right back.